The Bentley purred to a stop at the side of a dusty road, its polished black paint glistening under the midday sun. Inside, Daniel Whitmore, billionaire tech mogul, stock market genius, and on every top 50 under 50 list in America, flicked his eyes from the GPS to a small roadside fruit stand barely visible in the heat shimmer. "Strange place to be selling juice," he muttered. Daniel wasn't a man who often stopped for anything that wasn't scheduled. His life ran like clockwork: boardroom meetings, power lunches, investment calls. His assistant even booked his spontaneous vacations 3 months in advance. But he was parched. And something about the battered wooden sign, "Fresh orange juice, $1, felt oddly magnetic. He eased the car onto the gravel. The stand was run by an elderly man in a faded baseball cap, hands leathery from years under the sun. There were mason jars lined up on the counter, each filled with golden juice that caught the light like liquid sunshine. "One jar?" the man asked with a soft smile. Daniel nodded and handed him a 20. The man fumbled in his pocket for change. "Keep it," Daniel said, already turning back to his car. That's when he saw him. A boy, maybe 10, barefoot, wearing a shirt so frayed it was more thread than fabric, stood a few feet away. His hair was messy, his face streaked with dust, but his eyes held that sharp, restless light Daniel recognized from his own childhood. The boy wasn't looking at Daniel. He was staring at the Bentley like it was a spaceship. "Nice car," the boy said, without a hint of shyness. Daniel smirked. "Thanks. What's it like to drive something like that?" the boy asked. Daniel paused. No one ever asked him that. People just assumed it was, well, amazing. "Fast," Daniel replied. "And smooth." The boy nodded like he understood, then glanced toward the juice stand. "Wish I could afford even a jar of juice." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "You don't have $1? The boy shook his head, then added quietly, "Haven't eaten since yesterday morning." Something in Daniel tightened, an old, almost forgotten ache from a time before his fortune. But he shrugged it off. He wasn't in the business of fixing people's lives. Still, something about the boy made him linger. "Where are your parents?" The boy hesitated. "It's just me and my mom. She's sick." Daniel glanced back at the Bentley, then at the boy. He felt a sudden, irrational urge to do more than just hand over a bill. "Get in," he said. The boy blinked. "What?" "Get in. I'll take you somewhere to eat." The boy looked toward the fruit stand owner, who gave a small, encouraging nod. Then he climbed into the leather seat, his bare feet barely touching the floor mats. They drove into town, stopping at a small diner. The boy ate like someone who didn't know when his next meal would come. Between bites, he told Daniel his name, Eli, and bits of his life. His mom had worked at a laundromat until her illness forced her to stop. They'd been scraping by on odd jobs Eli could find, carrying groceries, washing windows. When the plates were cleared, Daniel pulled out his phone. He told himself he was just looking for a local charity or shelter. But instead, he found himself asking, "Where do you live?" Eli hesitated again, but something in Daniel's voice made him trust. When they arrived, Daniel was stunned. It wasn't a house, it was a shed behind a crumbling apartment block. A mattress on the floor. A pile of clothes in one corner. And a woman lying under a thin blanket, coughing. Daniel stood frozen. He'd grown up poor, yes, but not like this. "Mrs. Carter," Eli said softly. "This is Daniel. He bought me lunch." She smiled faintly. "That's kind of you." Daniel felt something shift inside him. This wasn't charity. This was survival. He could have left right then. Dropped off some groceries, maybe handed Eli a wad of cash. But as he looked at the boy and his mother, he realized he didn't want to just help. He wanted to change something, permanently. And he had no idea yet just how much they would change him in return. Daniel couldn't sleep that night. He kept replaying Eli's voice in his mind, matter of fact, uncomplaining, as if living in a shed with a sick mother was just normal. The next morning, instead of heading to his scheduled board meeting, Daniel drove back to the shed. Eli was outside, kicking a dented soda can. His face lit up when he saw the Bentley. "You came back," the boy said, half surprised, half hopeful. "I said I would," Daniel replied. He had a plan, or at least he thought he did. First stop, the hospital. Mrs. Carter protested, but Daniel didn't take no for an answer. He covered her medical expenses without blinking, though the nurse's raised eyebrow told him she was used to people making promises they didn't keep. Next came groceries. Not just the basics. Daniel filled the cart with fresh fruit, meat, bread, even a jar of peanut butter that made Eli grin like Christmas morning. And then Daniel went further. He rented them a small 2-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood. Paid the first year in advance. Left his personal number taped to the fridge. It felt good, too good. But here's the thing about doing a good deed when you're used to living in a bubble, you think it's a one-time act. A clean, quick fix. And then life humbles you. Because 2 weeks later, Daniel got a call from Eli. His voice was trembling. "Mr. Whitmore. Mom's medicine, it's too strong. She can't get out of bed. Anne. I don't know what to do." Daniel left a meeting mid-sentence. By the time he arrived, Eli was sitting on the apartment steps, eyes red. Inside, Mrs. Carter looked even weaker. Daniel stayed until a visiting nurse arrived. He cooked Eli dinner that night, burnt eggs, lopsided toast. The boy ate them anyway. That night, Daniel realized something unsettling. He didn't just want to help Eli and his mom. He needed to. So he kept showing up. Some days with groceries, other days with stories about his own childhood, the cramped apartment, the second-hand clothes, the mother who worked 3 jobs. And Eli, in return, gave Daniel something he hadn't felt in years, honesty. No one else in Daniel's life talked to him without calculating what they could get from it. Months passed. Mrs. Carter's health stabilized. Eli joined a local soccer team, and Daniel was there for every game, awkwardly cheering from the sidelines in his tailored suits. But the real turning point came one rainy afternoon. Daniel was supposed to be at a gala in New York, rubbing elbows with investors. Instead, he was in Eli's kitchen, helping with homework. "Mr. Whitmore," Eli asked suddenly, "why do you help us?" Daniel hesitated. The real answer was tangled, part guilt, part gratitude, part something he didn't fully understand. But he said, "Because when I was your age, someone helped me. And it changed everything." Eli nodded slowly. "Then I'll help someone too. Someday." That moment hit Daniel harder than any business success ever had. Years later, when Daniel was asked in an interview about the smartest investment he'd ever made, he didn't mention stocks or startups. He told them about a boy on a dusty road, a glass of orange juice, and a decision to stop. By then, Eli was in college, on a scholarship Daniel had quietly arranged. Mrs. Carter was healthy enough to volunteer at the same hospital that once treated her for free. And Daniel, well, Daniel had learned something priceless. Wealth meant nothing if it didn't ripple outward. The day he stopped for juice, he thought he was just quenching his thirst. He hadn't realized he was about to fill a much deeper hunger, one he'd carried his whole life. And that was the life that boy changed forever.